Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking the channel out today. My name is Agabus. This is your financial education channel. I want to say a quick thank you to everybody who has subscribed and liked and followed and shared all the content that we're putting out here today. I really appreciate it, and it really makes me feel very blessed to have a channel and have this community of people that are following along. So thank you so much for the interest. Thank you so much for the internet currency of those likes and subscribes. Today we're going to learn a bit about Web 3 and Web 3 technology, what it is, why we're talking about it, and what it may be for you down the road. Of course, if you like what you see, make sure you like button below, subscribe if you want more content, and let me know your thoughts on where Web 3 will take you and your business going forward. So today we're starting off at Ethereum.org. Introduction to Web 3. Centralization has helped onboard billions of people in the World Wide Web and created the stable, robust infrastructure on which it lives. At the same time, a handful of centralized entities have a stronghold on large swaths of the World Wide Web, unilaterally deciding what should and should not be allowed. Web 3 is the answer to this dilemma. Instead of a web monopolizing by large technology companies, Web 3 embraces decentralization and is being built, operated, and owned by its users. Web 3 puts power in the hands of the individuals rather than the corporations. And before we talk about Web 3, let's explore how we got here. Believe the web has always been there. It's not always been the case. For those of you who were born in the 80s and earlier, you know the existence of a pre-web life and a post-web life. So Web 1.0 was read-only. You can think of this as text-based blogging type of websites, or this one here that we're reading from. In 1989 at CERN, Geneva, Tim was busy developing the protocols that would become the World Wide Web. His idea? To create open, decentralized protocols that allowed information sharing from anywhere on the Earth. And since the first inception, now known as Web 1.0, occurred, roughly 1990 to 2004, the Web 1.0 was mainly a static website owned by companies, and there was close to zero interaction between users. So think of the web prior to social media. Individuals seldom produce content, leading to it being known as the read-only web. Number 2 is Web 2.0, read and write, 2004 until now. The Web 2.0 period began in 2004 with the emergence of social media platforms. Instead of a read-only, the web evolved to a read and write. And instead of companies providing content to users, they also began to provide platforms to share user-generated content and engage in user-to-user interactions. As more and more people came online, a handful of top companies began to control a disproportionate amount of the traffic and value generated on the web. Web 2.0 also birthed the advertising-driven revenue model. While users could create content, they didn't own it or benefit from its monetization. And the introduction is Web 3.0. So far we have pre-social media, kind of text-based. Again, think of it as blogging as a oversimplification. The second, Web 2.0, is social media, where you can interact based upon user engagement. There was more interactions, the like buttons, the videos, subscribing, things like that. And that brings us to Web 3.0, read, write, and own. The premise of Web 3 was coined by Ethereum co-founder Gavin Wood shortly after Ethereum launched in 2014. Gavin put into words a solution for a problem that many early crypto adopters felt, is that the web requires too much trust. That is, most of the web that people know and use today relies on trusting a handful of private companies to act in the public's best interest. What does Web 3.0 do? It kind of puts the bottom on top and the top on the bottom. Web 3 has become a catch-all term for the vision of a new, better internet, and at its core, Web 3 uses blockchains, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs to give back the power to the users in the form of ownership. A 2020 post on Twitter said it best: Web 1 was read-only, Web 2 is read and write, and Web 3 is read, write, and own. So let's take a look. What are the core ideas around this next version of the web? Web 3 is decentralized. Instead of a large swaths of the internet controlled and owned by centralized entities, ownership gets distributed among its builders and users. Web 3 is also permissionless. Everyone has access, equal access, to participate in Web 3, and no one gets excluded. Web 3 has native payments. It uses cryptocurrency for spending and sending money online instead of relying on the outdated infrastructure of banks and payment processors. We've covered some of that in the past, where cryptocurrencies can get sent for fractions of a penny when it comes to the charge, and wicked quick versus current banking systems. And lastly, Web 3 is trustless. It operates using incentives and economic mechanisms instead of relying on trusted third parties. Why is Web 3 important? Well, number one, it gives you ownership of your digital assets in an unprecedented way. For example, say you're playing a game in Web 2. If you purchase an in-game item, it's tied directly to your account. If the game creators delete your account, or if you lose those items, or if you stop playing the game, you lose the value you invested into your login game items. Web 3 allows for direct ownership through NFTs, also known as non-fungible tokens. No one, not even the game's creators, has the power to take away your ownership. And if you stop playing, you can sell or trade your in-game items on the open markets and recoup their value. Think of it in a way as the old gaming cartridges. If you had Sega Genesis, or you had the Super Nintendo or the original Nintendo, you were able to level up some of your characters. You own the cartridge and you can sell the game back to GameStop, let's say, because you owned that game. Well, now it's all streaming based, so you kind of are leasing or renting it from the company, but you can't ever sell back the game that you own. This again brings back the idea of ownership, where if you level up, you can sell that character or sell those items that were in the game to somebody else on the open market. The next thing is that it's censorship resistant. The power dynamic between platforms and content creators is massively imbalanced, the website says. On Web 3, your data lives on the blockchain. So when you decide to leave a platform, you can take your reputation with you, plugging it into another interface that more clearly aligns with your values. Think of it as creating content on a social media site, having that site decide to ban you, and then now bringing all that content with you to another platform. Web 2 requires content creators to trust platforms not to change the rules, but censorship resistance is a native feature of Web 3. Decentralized autonomous organizations, also known as DAOs. As well as owning your data in Web 3, you can own the platform as a collective using tokens that act like shares in a company. DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, let you coordinate decentralized ownership of a platform and make decisions about its futures. DAOs are defined technically as agreed upon smart contracts that automate decentralized decision making over a pool of resources. Users with these tokens vote on how resources get spent, and the code automatically performs the voting outcome. Identity. Traditionally, you would create an account for every single platform that you use. For example, you might have one on Twitter, one on YouTube, one on Reddit. Want to change your display name or picture profile? You have to do it across every single account. You can use social sign-ins in some cases, but this presents a familiar problem of censorship. So in a single click, these platforms can lock you out of your entire online life. Even worse, many platforms require you to trust them with personally identifiable information to create your account. Web 3 solves these problems by allowing you again to control your digital identity, in this case with an Ethereum address and ENS profile. This is from, again, ethereum.org. So using an Ethereum address provides a single logon across platforms that's secure, censorship resistant, and anonymous. If you're using Ethereum as your platform, Web3, again built on Ethereum, would have its own native payment, whether it's Ethereum or other blockchains that are built on top of Ethereum, but they have its own native currency or native tokens. And with all things, of course, there are always drawbacks and problems. The biggest thing I would argue here is education. Web3 introduces new paradigms that require learning different mental models than the ones used in Web 2.0. A similar education drive happened as Web 1.0 has gained popularity in the 90s. Proponents of the World Wide Web use a slew of educational techniques to educate the public from simple metaphors. The information highway, browsers, surfing the web, to television broadcasts. Web3 isn't difficult, but it's different, and education initiatives informing Web 2 users of Web 3 paradigms are vital for its success. That's all I've got for you today. Extremely excited about what the future internet, Web 3, blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, and the metaverse all have going for them. Tell me your 2 cents on this transition from Web 2 to Web 3. Are you aware of this? Is this new to you? What are your 2 thoughts and comments? Would love to hear it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. As always, stay informed, stay inquisitive, and stay subscribed for more. We'll see you tomorrow.